All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Daily Rates Live with the Mortgage Calculator. Give us just a moment here to go live on all the different platforms. Today, we're going to be going over our live mortgage rates for a few different programs. Then, we're going to be talking about our favorite loan type, which is DSCR. Appreciate everybody tuning in nice and early. It looks like we're live on all the platforms, so we'll go ahead and get it started here. What we'll do is we'll take the chat off the screen for now, but go ahead and keep dropping comments there in the chat. You can also drop any questions you have in the chat, and we'd be more than happy to answer them after we do our deep dive topic here for today. So, welcome everyone. My name is Kyle Hershey. I'm the COO of the Mortgage Calculator, joined here by our president, Nick Hershey, and our CSO, Jose Gonzalez. We are a lender that specializes in non-QM loans, and what we do every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern on this show is go through our actual live mortgage rates for a few different standard loan programs, and then we do a deep dive into a different loan topic. Today's topic is our favorite type of loan at the Mortgage Calculator, which is DSCR. So Jose will talk about that here shortly, but first, let's pull up the rates. So Nick, if you're ready, let's see what the rates are looking like today.
All right. As has been the case for the last while, good news for rates recently, and we have a big meeting coming up here, so hopefully it continues to drop. We will check out the rates for today. It is September 16th, just after 11 a.m., so all of our standard programs have their initial rate sheets for today, and we will compare the APR across the program. If you'd like a full breakdown of the itemized fees that go into the APR there, a itemized loan estimate, please get with one of our team members. They would be happy to help you out. For the demo, we set a standard scenario. We set a single family home, 500,000 purchase price, 400,000 loan amount. That corresponds to 80% loan, 20% down payment. And we set an estimated 760 FICO credit score and estimated 40% debt to income ratio. Some of those settings. Let me share the rates for today. Pretty amazing here as we continue to see everything go down. First up, our 30-year fixed conventional option for a primary home. This is the most common option people think of when they think of a mortgage. Rates as low as 5.65 today. Final APR 5.891. And if for any reason our customer doesn't qualify for a standard conventional option, typically the next option you want to compare is an FHA option. FHA allows more leniency on credit issues and a higher overall debt to income ratio. FHA comes in today at 4.75 rate and a final APR with the upfront and yearly mortgage insurance, 5.676. So if our customer qualifies for both, FHA could be a touch cheaper if they're willing to do the mortgage insurance. And our customers that need to use it, definitely a good option. Now moving on to VA. VA is only for eligible active service members and vets. If our borrowers are eligible, these programs are amazing. Rates as low as 4.99. Final APR with a standard funding fee there, 5.264. So if our customers qualify for a VA option, definitely when you compare the APR, better than FHA or conventional. So great option for our vets. And the final option here for standard programs that any bank or lender has, USDA. Those are only for properties in USDA eligible areas. If the property is eligible and our borrower is eligible, these are great options to look at. Coming in today, 4.875, final APR 5.575 with all of the standard fees there. So we'll compare that to FHA. Typically, our borrowers will be looking at the comparison here, and USDA is going to be a touch cheaper. And if they compare it to conventional, USDA is going to be a touch cheaper as well. And that rounds out our standard options that any bank or lender has. And if our customer doesn't qualify, they may have to deny them. But we have 5,000 other options here, starting with our non-QM alt-doc options. So if the customer doesn't quite qualify for a conventional option with 2 years of tax returns and needs to use alternative documentation, you can switch here to our non-QM alt-doc option using bank statements, 1099s, P&Ls, all kinds of different options. The lowest rate option here today for a primary home, 6% rate, is probably a bank statement option most likely. Final APR 6.309. So as usual, we're within about a half a point to switch from conventional to using alt-doc. So great option for our borrowers that need to use it, can still get that home they really want. And we can also use alternative doc programs for investment properties, and tons of options come up for investments. This is a bank statement or similar, 6.5 rate, final APR 6.823. Not much movement since last week on that, but hopefully we see some more this week. And we'll compare the other investment property options. We have our standard 30-year fixed conventional option. Remember, there are no government option, so no USDA, VA, or FHA, but we have our standard conventional for investment, 6.25 rate today, final APR 6.581. So great option there, beating the alt doc, but not quite beating our favorite options and our topic for today, actually, DSCR. So DSCR stands for debt service coverage ratio, no income needed, no employment information needed from the borrower. We simply use the estimated rents from the appraisal to determine a DSCR ratio. If the estimated rents can cover the estimated expenses, aka the property cash flows monthly, that is a DSCR ratio of 1 or higher, which is preferred. For these demos, I typed in a 1.5 so we can see all the programs, and Jose's deep dive will have some different options pop up here later. So first up is our standard 3-year prepayment penalty option, which is pretty common for DSCR, coming in at 6.25 rate. Final APR 6.529, it's a touch cheaper than conventional. But we have a smoking option here when we add a 5-year prepayment penalty to some of our programs. Rates come down to 5.875, final APR 6.181. So absolutely amazing there for our investors, beating conventional, which is awesome. And the final DSCR is a no prepayment penalty option. So some states don't allow it, and some investors prefer not to have one. No problem. Rates as low as 6.5. Final APR 6.823. So that's a touch higher than conventional. Definitely recommend our investors add a prepayment penalty to make it a little better. But this option does exist. And our final 2 demos here, not much movement since last week, but our 30-year fixed second mortgages. So these are very popular, as HELOCs are typically the only option for borrowers who want to keep their first mortgage and get some cash out with the second mortgage. Now we have our 30-year fixed option, which is different than a HELOC because it's not variable and much lower rates. So for a primary home, we can get cash out rates as low as 8.125 using that second mortgage, on APR 8.527. And for an investment property, we can do the same. HELOCs are very rare for investments. Rates as low as 9.5, final APR 9.769. And these are lower rates than HELOCs and non-QM programs, so we can use bank statements and similar. So those are our standard options. But let's get into our topic for today. DSCR loans, again, our favorite loans, thousands of different options and combinations. When we get into DSCR loans, unfortunately, I can't display those all on the simple quick pricer. So we have Jose here to break down some of the various options we have under DSCR, all kinds of options. I'd say there's at least 2,000 combinations of DSCR, possibly more, that we can do. So Jose's just showing the tip of the iceberg here. Definitely some great options for everybody.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for Daily Mortgage Rates Live with the Mortgage Calculator. First, for those of you that may not be aware, DSCR stands for Debt Service Coverage Ratio. And that is a calculation of getting the monthly rent, right? Gross monthly rent without any deductions divided by the complete housing expense, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. And if any HOA, then obviously at the HOA fee. And that is your debt service coverage ratio. The best options are available for a DSCR 1.0 or above, and we actually have 1.25 and above and 1.5 and above as different tiers, but definitely 1.0 to get either the 85% LTV option that I'm going to share for you, or any of the or the 80% option as well. Anytime you drop below 1.0, the loan to value is going to drop to 75% for the purchase. So let's go ahead and share the examples I have for you today. Our first example is with only 15% down. Now, this used to be the unicorn for the investors, not in the too far off past, but now we do have multiple options for the 15% down option, even a 2 to 4 unit option. Before, it was limited to only 1 unit. Now, what is still not possible with 15% down is short-term rental if you're actually using short-term rental to qualify. So 8.124 is our lowest cost option at par, which is absolutely amazing considering this program not too long ago was in the 10% range. And 6.749 is our lowest rate option for our 15% down DSCR purchase. Now with 20% down, you see how much better the rates get. And in this scenario here, I only used the 1.0 DSCR. The DSCR is higher than that. The rate will be better. So here's 6.75 actually with a lender credit as our lowest cost option, and 6.25 is our lowest cost option. 6.75 lowest cost option, excuse me, 6.25 lowest rate option. Now, AirDNA for our short-term rental owners out there or short-term rental property purchasers when actually using short-term rental, right? So here we are at an 80% LTV. The only restriction on this program, if you're using AirDNA in this particular option, is that your DSCR does have to be at 1.5 or above, but no LTV reduction if you're at 1.5 or above, which is critical. 6.625 is our lowest cost option at par, 5.75 lowest rate option. Now, for the DSCR less than 1, I did mention that would affect your LTV. So you're at 75% LTV. This option is for a debt service coverage ratio of 0.75 to 0.99, meaning, again, you are less than 1.0, meaning that when doing your division there, your calculation, the rent will not cover 100% of the housing expense. But 25% down gets you in. 7.49 is your lowest cost option at par, which is absolutely amazing considering you can go to 6.125 as your lowest rate option, and you are not even at 100% covering the housing expense. So that is amazing. And it gets better. Here is for a debt service coverage ratio less than 0.75. So theoretically, this would be from 0 to 0.74 DSCR, even though I don't think there's ever going to be a 0 DSCR. Property is always going to be able to rent for something. And our lowest rate option is 8.499 at par. And our lowest cost option, lowest rate option 6.99, and lowest cost option was the 8.499. And our last option here is for our low credit score borrowers. This is the minimum credit score possible for a DSCR loan, 575. Now this was available up to 65% LTV, but they just recently reduced it to 60% LTV, but still a great option considering this is not a bridge loan. This is not any kind of a short-term balloon loan or anything like that. This is a full-term 30-year amortizing loan. 10.375 is the rate, and it comes at a cost of 1 point. And our last option here to share with you is a DSCR cash out, 75% LTV. 6.625 is our lowest cost option, 5.625 lowest rate option. For our DSCR cash out, 75% LTV. So look to the mortgage calculator for all your DSCR loans, non-QM, and everything else under the sun.
All right. Thank you, Jose. It looks like we do have a question in here. If you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, but we do have one here we can pull up and answer. The question is typically how much prior experience would we be looking at for the 15% down DSCR option?
I don't believe that program, the one I was looking at, requires investor experience. We'd have to check because those guidelines do change all the time. But they definitely are not for a first-time home buyer. I can definitely tell you that you have to at least have a primary residence under their belt.
All right. Great question. Thank you. Okay, I don't see any other questions, so I think we can go ahead and wrap it up here. Remember that we do this at 11 a.m. Eastern every weekday, where we go through the live rates and then do a deep dive into a different topic. So we will see you all tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern with a new topic.